The story of our movie today begins with this girl, whose name is Cara Rue Vanson, and we see her waking up from sleep to the sound of the alarm clock, and her friend Jess wakes up as well, from sleep. After that, Cara calls her mother, whose name is Deborah, and tells her that she is visiting her father this week, and they continue to talk to each other for a while, and after the communication between them ends, Cara's friend asks her to water the plant so that she will take her shower and put on her clothes, and Cara actually goes and falls. A black car stopped next to her, and a man named Richard got out. He approached her and talked to her on the grounds that he was a sales representative, but suddenly he pulled out a gun and pointed at Cara and threatened her she would stay silent and get into his black car, and he also let her enter a large storage box placed in the back seat of the car. He locked the box on her and got into the car. He leaves the place immediately, while Cara, while she is in the box, remains extremely terrified. This time, in the house, Jess has taken her hair and put on her clothes and continues to call for Cara, but of course she does not answer her, so Jess goes outside the house and finds the water hose running and thrown on the floor in the same way we see it. Remains very upset and uncomfortable with Cara's sudden disappearance and continues to scream and call for her. At this time, Richard takes his car to this deserted area, stops there, gets out of the car, opens the trunk, and tells Cara that he must tie her horn and hands, and if she does anything or tries to escape, she will be subjected to her immediately. She would be dead from terror and fear, and she would tell him, "I will do everything you want." Beirut brings the rope, so she remains on the road, thinking about escaping and suffocating while she runs and runs away at full speed, but she is shot at. She becomes afraid and hurts at the thought, and Richard comes back, tying and patting her, closing the trunk on her, and also getting into the car. He drives off and continues his journey from the second, and the movie returns to us from the second. Jess calls Deborah and his father, Cara, and asks about Cara. Deborah answers her and tells her that she spoke to her on the phone half an hour ago, and she remains confused when she finds out that Cara suddenly disappeared, and they don't know where she is or what happened to her. And after that, Deborah immediately calls Cara's friend Ryan and asks if she is with him or not. Cara tells her that she is definitely with Jess, so she tells him, "No, Pasha, she is not there because Jess called me and informed me that Cara suddenly disappeared from the house half an hour ago." Debo's mother tries to call Ryan, calls the police, and then goes to Gus's house. At this time, Richard arrives home early, comes out of the box, unties the rope from her, and comes to make any move, this or that, so that he doesn't finish her or kill her. So she responds to him and tells him he's here, and he takes it. He is in the bedroom and thinks that he is armed and there's no need for her to try or even think about escaping from here. By her command, she obeys his orders and takes his permission for anything she wants to do. After that, he begins to interrogate him about her life and also writes her answers in his notebook. After that, she sleeps on the bed and remains completely calm, and he wants to assault her, and Cara will be afraid that she will oppose him. He will actually kill her and get rid of her. This time, Deborah calls her ex-husband, Ron, who remains Cara's father, and she also tells him about the sudden disappearance of their daughter. The police officer arrives at the house of Cara's friend, Jazz, and he meets with Jess and Deborah. Cara's father tells Deborah that her daughter, Cara, is considered missing now because we do not know where she is or how she disappeared 2 hours ago, but the officer answers her and tells her that this is not enough time for them to file a disappearance report and that she must wait a little longer than that, so that I might think that she has gone here or here and will appear again for sure. I mean, after that. So he leaves him and walks away, and we return the second time to Cara, who is at Richard's house, and she is completely silent and calm, and she studies the place very well around her, and she is waiting for the opportunity to escape. Fritsch speaks 2 words to her like this and tries to reassure her and tells her that he will let her walk and not shake her, and after that he moves from her side while talking to her about his birds. He tells her that he loves birds very much because they are very simple, and they are not forbidden like humans because they are locked in very normal cages. He apologizes to Lekar for what he did to them and their eggs, and that he will release them in the end. At this time, Kara asks Richard that she wants to use the bathroom and is thinking of escaping, but when she sees Richard with his gun, withdraws from the idea now, and Richard tells her that he will prepare food for her so that they can eat together, and Kara offers to help him prepare the food, but he tells her that if you really want to help me, please, you can sweep the kitchen floor, and Kara actually grabs the broom and starts sweeping the floor, and Kara concentrates. We have to memorize the names and numbers of the cards and contact cards that are placed on the refrigerator. And in the name of the police, we see that Officer Dale does not take Deborah's report about her daughter's disappearance seriously, and he tells her that the best assistance here will be working on this matter. At this time, Kara and Richard are sitting next to each other and watching the news. Kara feels frustrated when she does not hear any news about her disappearance on the local news, and she remembers that no one cares about her or her absence. After that, Richard takes her to the bedroom and enters the storage box the second after he tied her up and gagged her and locks the box on her, but Kara feels shortness of breath and difficulty breathing, and she refuses. She fumbles and makes a sound in the box. Richard is very angry with her and opens the box as well, but he does not do anything to her and unscrews her bug so that she can breathe properly. He does not close the box on her this time, and Kara prefers to cry and cry without making a sound and thinks to herself that she should prefer Aisha and take him as much as he can think of. She finds a way to escape from here. After that, Richard covers his bird cages and tells them sweet dreams. He pulls out a large box that is placed under the bird cages, but he sees that Kara is looking at him. Bear puts the box back in its place as it was under the bird cages. After a while, Richard goes into the bathroom and brushes his teeth, and Kara thinks that she locks the door on him and escapes from the window, but like every time, she says to herself that he will arrest her and then he will kill her and finish her off, so she gives up on the idea of escaping until now. After that, Richard puts her on the bed so she can rest and sleep for a while, and he raises her legs as we see that and stays beside her, and the next morning she wakes up. She hates to sleep at the sound of Richard snoring while he sleeps, and she repeats to herself that this is the best and most appropriate way to escape from what she is in. She also tries to untie herself, and she succeeds in doing so. She gets up and stands on the steps of her fingers and moves outside the sleeping room and actually goes outside the house to the street and also stops this car, which is in it, to a man. And she tells them that someone was her kidnapper and wants them to take her to the police station, so they agree and tell her to get in quickly and we will deliver to you. And she actually rides with them and consults them about Richard's house so they can find out where he is exactly. Kara arrives at the police station and swallows, wanting to make a report on her kidnapping, and Lieutenant Aaron takes Kara to his office because he hears everything from her in detail, and Captain Bonnie conducts an interview with the 2 men with whom Kara rode in the car, and they reach her to the name of the police, and Captain Bonnie takes their statements, but they do not remember the number of the house from which Kara came down and was kidnapped. At this time, Kara is with Lieutenant Aaron, and Captain Bonnie enters upon them and submits a report. The 2 men who are with Kara say to Lieutenant Aaron. Lieutenant Aaron also calls Deb and Kara and his father and makes sure that Kara is with them now in the police station. He makes Kara and Deborah talk a little to each other. Debo looks at her daughter, and Captain Bonnie asks Kara if she can guide them and find out the house and the apartment where she was kidnapped. No, because the two men who are with her do not know the exact location, and Kara will be afraid to return there. But Lieutenant Aaron tells her that if you want justice to be achieved and to take your rights from whoever did this, then you must muster your courage and help us reach him, and Kara is killed. According to Lieutenant Aaron's words, move them all to the residential complex where she was. There, Kara sees Lieutenant Aaron, a maintenance worker, and he tells him about a person who lives here, and he also describes to him the specifications of Richard, and Kara organizes for them and tells him that this person has many bird cages in his apartment, so the maintenance worker tells them that it is likely that the person with these specifications is in unit and apartment number 301. At this time, Bonnie goes to apartment 301, and Aaron enters a police car and asks her to calm down and not be afraid of anything. Deborah calls the police and also asks about her daughter, Kara. Soon, Kara enters and they hug each other, and we learn that when Captain Bonnie banged on the apartment, no one answered her, so she used it. Maintenance worker's key, and I opened the door. Aaron and Jim open the apartment, and they do not find anyone at all inside. At this time, a hater is at the hospital to check on her, and Captain Bonnie enters them with a group of pictures. Fortunately, Richard's picture is among these pictures, and Kara is able to recognize him, and they recognize him. Actually rented apartment number 301, and Kara was upset when she found out that he had escaped. Captain Bonnie was reassured and assured them that he would be arrested. Captain Bonnie asked Kara for any information that she thought would help them reach him, so Kara thought of the large box that was under the bird cage in Richard's apartment, and they actually reached that box. Bella found a lot of evidence of previous kidnapping crimes, and Bella also found clippings from newspapers and his notebook, and there were names of people who apparently had been kidnapped before. And Jim assigned Lieutenant Aaron to study and reveal these names, what exactly happened to them, and they write that the newspaper scraps those who found her were related to a woman named Sophia. The police found her drowned in a swamp one day after she disappeared. Of course, to a large extent, Richard is the one behind the crime of kidnapping, disappearing, and murdering Sophia, and we know that this is Richard's method in this crime, and his method is to kidnap the victims and assault them. How many days in his apartment like this? And after that, he gets rid of them and kills them and goes back to the swamp. But the strange thing is that Richard was writing everything about his victims before he kidnapped them in this notebook, but there is a woman whose name is not written in this notebook, and it seems that she was kidnapped by mistake or for some other reason that no one still knows about, and at this time she arrives. Captain Bonnie swallows that they have reached Richard's mother, sister, and wife. At the hospital, Jess and Kara's friend, Ryan, and her father, Ron, arrive to check on Kara. She smiles at them and reassures them that she is fine and that she wants to return home. The next day, Jim and Bonnie, along with the police forces, go to his father's house, Richard and Bella. They also drive there in the car, the black woman with whom Richard kidnapped Kara. And after that, Captain Bonnie visits Kara at home. And Kara is upset that there are police forces that will remain on guard around the house, so Bonnie tells her that all this is to protect you and your personal safety, especially since Richard has not been arrested yet, and after that, Kara intervenes. She talks to Deborah and tells her that she wants to go visit her friend Ryan because she feels bored and fed up, but Deborah objects and tells her that there is no point in moving from here until Richard is arrested, but Kara gets very upset and annoys her and tells her, well, I want to keep him locked up here and his situation is my life. Your Richard has been arrested, and Jess arrives and the two of them go into the room, and Kara is behaving very normally, but something has happened, and Jess is surprised by her and asks Kara exactly what happened. And Kara begins to tell her about the difficult ordeal that she went through the past 2 days, and at this time, Lieutenant Aaron is pestering and Ashley is his wife. Richard also tells him that she was traveling and came back, and she assures him that it is impossible for Richard to do that, and she does not know where he is currently, nor did she contact him the day before he passed. However, that Richard's sister, Stephanie, is interrogated, and she tells them that Richard was driving a car with a fake number plate, and we learn from her that she and her mother are arguing with Ashley, and she also tells them that she is almost certain that her brother Richard is not the first time he has kidnapped girls, and Lieutenant Aaron remains sympathetic to her because she is very afraid of her brother and terrified of him, and Stephanie confesses to him that Richard called her yesterday afternoon and she learned from him that he would be with her and their mother today. Before he travels, Lieutenant Aaron takes all this information and immediately delivers it to Jim. Jim says that Richard is definitely still at the hotel because of his re-meeting with Stephanie and their mother. He has not yet arrived, and Captain Bonnie is sent directly to the hotel, and Officer Dale asks Kara to stay at home until the end. Richard is arrested and Kara tells him, but when you found out about his disappearance, you did not do anything at all, and he goes to Jim after that, and he falls in love with Kara, gets satisfied, and stands by her side, and she feels optimistic. After that, Lieutenant Aaron calls Jim, and they say that Richard has been using his phone now for 15 minutes, and whoever traces the location and source of the call is currently there. In Jacksonville, Florida, he is going to his second sister, Pamela, in Bradenton. He also learns that he has agreed with her that he will meet at a certain restaurant there. Immediately, he calls Lieutenant Aaron on behalf of the Bradenton Police Department, and they swallow and tell them that they must be fully prepared and that we will return from the second trip, which will be fighting with her mother, Deborah, and Miss Ra. She has to leave, and Deborah remains opposed to her leaving, but Kara apologizes to her mother with determination and hopes that he will also win his baseball game. At this time, Richard arrives at Bradenton State, and when he gets out of the car, he sees two police officers, so he turns and runs on his feet, and here is one of the police officers getting out of the car, and the second police officer. He joins the chase in his car, and in the end they reach Richard, and he thinks he's with him, and Kara is very happy at Ryan's baseball game. Here, Richard hits himself with fire, and Bennett is free, and Kara and the whole audience cheer for Ryan's victory in the game, and finally, Kara's nightmare ends forever. And in the scene after that, Kara appears waking up from sleeping, and we see that she looks like this. She is not happy, but at breakfast, her mother Deborah tells her that Richard committed suicide yesterday, so she gets angry because they did not say anything to her since yesterday. Bora tells her because you did not want to ruin your happiness yesterday with Ryan's victory, and I think of this criminal, and Kara goes out and sits alone in front of the house, and he arrives. Jim is talking to her, and he wants to know more details about what happened to her. Kara tells him that since Richard committed suicide, there will be no trial, and all the details that happened should not marginalize anyone. She does not want to let the people she loves around her feel the pain any longer. So Jean tells her everything that happened to you. You are still thinking about those around you and those you love, and Captain Bonnie asks Deborah to give enough time for Kara to recover from what she went through. After that, she enters the house as a carer, and Deborah apologizes to her for restricting her freedom over the past period and asks her to return to her life, to her friends, and to everyone who loves her. And in fact, she returns from Fanny. Kara El Maliana is lively, energetic, and happy, and thus the events of our film today end. I hope you have a good time with us. Don't forget to, if you like the video, support us with a like and subscribe, and also activate the bell. See ya.